Hello, everybody. Hello. Thanks for watching. I'm Lisa with Lisa Capen Quilts, and today I have Pennie. Now, many of you over in the Creative Crew group might know her as Stitch Pennies. If you are in a lot of the live chats that we do here on my YouTube channel, then you know her in the comment section as Stitch Pennies. Welcome, Miss Pennie. I want you to say hello to everybody. Today we're going to be doing a virtual live craft room tour and showing off your space and getting to know you a little bit better. Why don't you start, Miss Pennie, by telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
Well, hello, everybody. Before I get to that, I just want to say a real quick thank you to you, Lisa, for opening up your channel and allowing me to share my space today with all of your subscribers. I also want to thank the moderators that are on today. I gush over moderators. I have been watching kind of live streams that didn't have moderators, and it can be quite a different experience. So I really appreciate monitors and what you do, and I thank you for being here, and to everybody else. So hello, my name is Pennie. I live in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and this is my space behind me. I'm fairly new to quilting. I started 2 years ago now. Getting on to 2.5 years, I think. And when I started, I actually didn't even know how to sew. I didn't have a sewing machine. I didn't know how to thread it. I didn't know anything about anything. So I've really enjoyed the last 2 years of my life, learning everything right from the beginning, and obviously utilizing YouTube heavily with tutorials and stuff, so that kind of I can stand on the shoulders of giants and find my way. So
that is so awesome. That is so awesome. You were telling me yesterday when we met that you learned a lot during the quarantine time, and you've seen your quilting techniques and your skills really grow in this last year. So I'm really excited for you about that.
Yeah, that actually it was interesting because, Lisa, I just found you in February of 2020. So the coronavirus was out there. It hadn't quite hit us yet in North America. And prior to that, I just signed up. I don't know if anyone knows about Okla Roots, but I just signed up with my very first kind of block of the month. And it was something that was done through YouTube as well. And then, Lisa, I started watching you, and then I started tuning into your videos more and more. And then you started your own quarantine series, the Happy Together at Home, I think is what it's called. And that's the one that I stuck with. I really just did those two because I didn't want to overwhelm myself. I still didn't know a lot about what I was doing, but honestly, that series really took my sewing from here all the way over to here. And it was a great time well spent. And thank you for doing that series, because it was an incredible service for a lot of people who were really isolated. And I loved spending the time, when you used to ask the questions, would you rather, or are you a sweet snack person or a salty snack person? And so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think that's when I started noticing, because you were quite active in the comment section, and I would notice your name, Stitch Pennies. And then when we met, and I was like, "Are you Stitch Pennies?" You were like, I was like, "Yes, I get to put a name and
Yeah,
put a face to the name." So it's been really awesome meeting you. And
you
I
too.
want to start by thanking your husband Chris for filming today, and just invite anybody who's watching either live. If you have questions for Pennie, if you type them in all caps as we go, then I can relate your question over to Pennie. And if you're watching on the replay, you can type your questions and comments down in the comment section, and we'll try to be as quick as to get back to you as possible.
Yeah.
All right, Miss Pennie, are you
Are
ready
we
to
ready?
show off your
Okay.
space? Yes, I'm going to make
Perfect.
you big on the screen so we can see more of your space.
Perfect. Okay, well, I'm going to initially start by stepping out of the shot for just a second, and Chris will show you guys. I thought you guys might be interested to see my space, because my space is right kind of in the middle of my house, and it's part of a room that is shared space with a lot of other things going on. So I know I'm not the only one out there, but I'm just going to step out, and then Chris can show you. It's not it's not a very big space. As you can see, it's about 8 feet deep and about 11 feet wide. So I got about 88 square feet, but I think I really utilized the space as best as I could, got a lot in there. And we'll just make our way over here. So where do I want to start? I'll start by saying that I don't do a lot of crafts. I don't see myself as a kind of a crafty person, but I'm more of a hobbyist. And I really have found 3 great hobbies, I think, in my life to kind of learn and spend my time with and have that nice creative outlet, because I'm not overly artistic. I started at the age of 18 with cross stitch way back early 1991, I think, or so. So, and I did that, and that's all I did for probably 25 years once. And then as the years passed on and as things changed with my eyes and my hands, I decided to find some new hobbies. And then I moved on to crochet and really enjoyed that. And I really like kind of something that you can do that in the end has some utility, making a blanket or making a trivet or a placemat or those types of things. It's kind of a nice sense of accomplishment. And everybody, you know, is always so amazed, you know, whether you've been sewing for 5 minutes or, you know, 50 years, they're just so amazed when they come across people who can make their own things. So that was pretty cool as well. And then I think really what happened is I exhausted pretty much every tutorial on crochet on YouTube. And then they started pushing the quilting. I wasn't really going to get into it. I thought that's just too much for me. That's too much new, too much learning. And the algorithms, as I was running out of crochet videos, they started pushing the Midnight Quilt Show with Angela Walters. And I got curious and I started to watching. And after about, you know, 3-6 months of watching it, I thought, okay, I'm going to give it a try. And that's what I did. So that's what this room is comprised of. It has all of my things in it. We moved into this house a couple of years ago. And this is the first time I've had like a space, because everything else was off of the dining room table or sitting in the rocking chair in the living room, and you have a little bin that you tuck under the end table, that type of thing. So when we moved into this house, it was time for me to have a space of my own. And this was the best space given the needs of everybody else and the way the house is laid out. So I was like, okay, you know what? I want everything in my space. And that's what I can show you here. I think the quilting stuff is probably going to be really obvious. I'm just going to move this out of the way. And these are my shelves here for the cross stitch and the crochet. Now, when I was setting this space up, it kind of started with my desk right here. And then my sewing table, I don't know if you can see, it's not very big. It's only 45 inches by 17 inches deep. So it, you know, was pretty clear to me pretty early on, this is something I can't butt up against the wall. So I knew the machine had to be in the middle of the room, and logic really dictated for me, face it towards the monitor. I can watch movies, I can listen to music, I can participate in live stream sew-alongs. So once these two things were settled, I decided to make my space for my cross stitch and my crochet, because I just felt I could get so carried away with the quilting if I didn't make the space for these two hobbies. I'd probably have to try and eke it out later. So, because I think you guys all realize quilting is a bit of a diva with all the things she needs and all the things she uses. So, so I'll just start here. I'll start with the cross stitch and the crochet, and then I'll move on to the quilting. So this shelf, predominantly this first shelf here, is focused on all of my cross stitch stuff. Down on the bottom shelf, I have I'd subscribed to magazines and I picked them up. So I organized them in some magazine boxes and kept them. They're still useful. And then the next two shelves, these are my large kits and my small kits. I'm really a kit stitcher. I don't do 1/2, so I don't do linen, I don't do even weave. And just the way it worked, I started out so early in my life, I didn't really have the budget and the space to have all of the things. So it really worked out best for me to do the kits. And then I didn't have a lot of leftovers. And then as time rolled on, I think it's just something I kind of kept with. And we'll just pop up to the top two shelves. So up here, I have some supplies here. So I have my tack boards. I have like an Afghan, some tea towels and breadcloth, and a few rolls, just a few things that were either given to me or I found on kind of clearance sale that were too good to pass up. And then down here on this shelf, I have my stitching frames. They all have projects on them. Yes, those projects have all been there for a few years, but they come down and I can work on them. And the small one and the large one are getting very, very close to being done. And then I have my stitching hoops and that sort of thing. So, and then the cross stitch, it's kind of small and contained. It's just floss and cloth and needles and stuff. So I had a couple of extra shells on this space here. And so up here, you can see I just have some kind of haberdashery for all of the things here. I've got buttons and Mod Podge and craft glue and that sort of thing. This is my large and my small ball winders for my yarn. This is the community cup of crochet hooks and such. This is the cup that my children and my husband are allowed to touch should they want to crochet. And yes, I taught Chris how to crochet. He makes blankets and hats, and he does a great job. My tools are here, and this is the do not touch pouch. So I kind of keep it tucked in there away from temptation. And then this shelf here is kind of all my books. So this is my reference and resource shelf. It's I also have some antique books here, and I have some historical books. Like for quilting, I've got Eleanor Burns' Underground Railroad sampler. I have another in here. This is the old Nova Scotian quilts that I have, and I'll show you my Valentine present this year. So I got my Encyclopedia of Pieced Quilt Patterns, the new book here. So sometimes I just come and like smell the fresh print on the pages. I love this book and I love looking through it. And so that's what's happening here. And this I have for cross stitch, crochet, quilting, everything that I might need is on the shelf. So nice and handy, close at hand. I don't have to go searching too far for everything. And then here is the yarn. I like to call this crochet corner. And I have all of, I have a good collection. I understand that, but trust me, it's not anywhere near some of the collections that some people have. But so I have my cakes here. These shapes are cakes for anyone who's not familiar with yarn. I got my skeins. Most of these, for the most part, are like a number 4 worsted weight. For anyone who's not familiar, yarn comes in weights, and the weight really is a direct correlation to the diameter of the string. So I pulled this out here. This is the number 4 worsted weight. It's kind of your most common all-purpose weight. You can do pretty much anything, and most patterns are written with that in mind, unless a pattern is written when a new kind of different weight yarn is introduced by manufacturers. And up here, I pull this down. In contrast, this is a number 6 weight. So this is obviously, you can see this is a much bigger string. So again, just different things that you want to do in here. And that's pretty much it. I like having it out and open. I've organized it for the most part by solids and variegateds. It's also organized by the different weights and the different materials. So like, for example, right here, this is my cotton cubby. I don't use a lot of cotton or organic materials. I like the acrylics mostly, just because I tend to give away what I make. And I just want to make it easier for the person receiving it, that they can kind of wash it and they don't have to worry about taking great care of it and be stressed out about that. So that is Crochet Corner. And I had, this is my homage to knitting. Just as proof that I did try it and it didn't stick. So I find a lot of people, when I say, I crochet, they often say, do you knit as well? And so I gave it a try, and here's the proof, and it just didn't stick. This is my daughter's set as well. She tried it as well. It didn't work for her so much either. So, and then just down here, these are my notebooks and my graph paper and tracing paper and just different things when I get an idea. So this is something I'm working on right now. I don't know how well you'll be able to see this, but this is a little quilt I'm thinking of laying out. And so whenever I get an idea in my head, I can just reach really quick and grab it and start writing it down. Not that I know what I'm doing really, because I don't, but I'm trying, and that's there for that. So I guess we can move on to the quilting aspect. Let me show you my machine. So I have a Janome Horizon Memory Craft 8200 special edition. I don't know really what any of that means. I still am in a steep learning curve when it comes to machines. I actually just learned last month when she came back from the spa how to nudge the needle over to try and get that unicorn stitch, the scant quarter inch. So I'm still learning, but it's she's a good machine. She has a really deep throat, and one of the deeper ones. So that actually really helps when putting my tops together and that sort of thing. So I appreciate that. And if anybody out there has this machine or Janome's and knows some really cool things, feel free to let me know, because like I said, I still have a lot I'm learning here. What do I want to say? The room has changed a lot over the last 2 years. When I first moved into the house, I'd only been sewing for a couple of months, and I had the things that I thought I needed. I had a lot of the things that I actually did need, and then I actually had some things I didn't need at all. I just didn't know enough at the time. And as I've grown and learned, I ended up with more things in here. So for example, the simplicity cabinet over here, this wasn't in here. My brother Scan and Cut, which I just got for Christmas, this wasn't here. I promised myself I wouldn't encroach on the fireplace space when I first moved into this space, but this lovely gadget arrived and needed a space. So here it sits waiting for me to try it out, because I've been just a little bit intimidated.
So,
But
Miss Penny, let me just stop you right there for a second.
sure.
The space that you're in, is that technically like a dining room space in your house? What kind of room would, like when you bought your house, when you moved in, was that a dining room or a family room?
I think it was a family room. We don't really know what it is, because our home style, it was built in 1965, and it's what they call a 4-level split. And I don't know if that's a familiar term, but essentially the home is 2 stories that has been cut in half, and the 2 levels have been offset. And so I've got these 4 half levels in the home, and every area in the home is really well defined. Up on this level, just behind us here, is like the kitchen, the living room, and an eating area. Upstairs on the top floor, it's 3 bedrooms and like that's kind of and then this space was just wide open, and it was just left to our imagination. So I honestly don't know. I think more to in 1965 when it was built. I think it was maybe more of maybe an office space, for the man of the house type thing, kind of off to this side. Now, Chris, if you just want to span over here, because in 1988, sunrooms were all the rage. Now, originally where that sunroom is, that was a wall with a window on it, and it ended right there. So I got to be honest with you, Lisa, we really don't know what this space was or used for. The owners had a couch and a TV here in my sewing area, and I don't quite even remember. Do you remember what was in the rest of the space? Yeah, because the fireplace is in a really odd spot. It's right in the middle of the room, but just a few feet away. That's how you get in and out of this space. So it's neither here nor there, but sorry.
I love that you have the fireplace in your space, and I just wanted to stop and ask you about what room specific was it? But I also love that when you walk in your front door, you kind of walk into like that's one of the first spaces, and you've really just allowed your creative side to be part of your lifestyle. And I kind of really just dig that. So
thank you. Yeah, it was originally, I got to be honest, I was in the sunroom, and because we thought, okay, that's just off to the side. And I was originally going to go in the sunroom, but I got my sewing table in there, took one look around and went, this is a sunroom. Like there's windows everywhere. I have no wall space. I don't have any storage space. And so that's when I moved over here. So yeah, I think it turned out really cool. A lot of people aren't expecting it when they come into the house. They walk in and they're just like, oh wow, okay, here's a sewing machine right in the middle of the house. So, and there's good and bad with that, right? Like there's, you know, I like that it's open. I like that I'm accessible to my family. My kids can see me even if I'm busy sewing, that sort of thing. But I, you know, honestly, there are days where I wish there was a wall and a door too as well. So, but yeah, for the most part, it's worked out pretty good. I got a nice big window here, and so yeah, it was really just about finding space for everything and doing what I could. So, but anyway, so yeah, there's that. And then one thing I do want to show you is this wasn't in here either. This is a quilt rack that I had for years and years, probably 10, 12 years. And it just moved in here. I have blanket kids. I don't know if anyone else out there has blanket kids, you know, those kids who just love blankets of all and any kind. Both of my kids are blanket kids. And so I had this rack because I always had blankets, and now I'm thrilled that I actually get to use it for quilts. And this just came in here in February of this year. And I'll start down here. This is an anniversary gift from Chris for our 5th anniversary. This is an antique quilt from the 1930s, and it's a feed sack quilt. And as everyone can see, it's done in Dresden plate. So I don't know if people know, I think a good majority of people probably will know what a feed sack quilt is, but I'm very, very pleased to have such a piece of history. So, and it's Canadian too. Antique Canadian quilts are much, much more difficult to find just based on population and so on and so forth. So this I brought into the room because I just really wanted to have a place for her to live and be seen, as opposed to in a cupboard somewhere. And then on the next 2 tiers, these are all my flimsies. This is all my sewing. So these are all the things that I've done. And so if anyone wants me to open up the quilt, I'm happy to do that. Just let me know. And here, this is my little sewing cart. This has been with me since the very beginning when I decided it's time to start quilting and see where it goes. I got this at half price from Michael's. I was really proud of myself. It has 10 drawers. When I started, I had stuff in 4 drawers and I had 6 empty drawers, but I was still pretty proud of myself. I felt I was really going in the right direction with sewing. And I keep things pretty organized. So I think you want to, shall we go through some drawers, Lisa?
Sorry, I had to switch back. Absolutely. I like
Okay.
looking in the drawers. I like to see all the little gadgets and the stuff. So let's see what's in some of your drawers.
Perfect. Okay.
Before we go, though, I think there might be a finger over the microphone. Still can't hear you.
Okay. Can you hear?
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, perfect. Okay. So this is, so in here, these are obviously my scissors. So this drawer is dedicated to, it's got scissors in here. This is my kind of glue and tacking things down. And this is my various marking tools. When I started out, I've always loved tailor's chalk, and I thought this is my opportunity to justify owning some tailor's chalk. And I brought it home and I used it to mark some fabric and realized very quickly tailor's chalk is not great for quilting because the line is so thick. So I'm not quite ready to part with it. So it just kind of sits in there, but I do have other things. I have some chalk pencils. I also have in here, this is where I keep my permanent fabric markers. So these are my marking tools. I also keep my old blades. I use them. I have one of my rotary cutters is dedicated to old blades if I'm cutting like a lot of batting or things with paper, that type of thing. So I keep them there. And then I have this new gadget. I don't know if anyone has seen these or has one of these, but these are pretty spectacular. I don't know what it's called. I forgot, but this is, it just clips apart. There's a little flower in here. There's a screw in the middle, and you open up the 2 pieces and you put one of your old blades inside, and it clips together like this. And then you can use your old blades and slice up your chained pieces here. So I thought that would be a great use for old blades as well. And it's quite a, I mean, it's got a really good, it's got these nonstick things on the bottom, and it does not move at all. So I think this is a really, if there's notion of the year, honestly, I think that should probably win. Next drawer down. So these are my rotary blades in here. I've got 60 and 28 and 45. Every time I go into a shop, I always check to see if the blades are on sale. And so every time they are on sale, I grab some and just kind of have them in here because you go through them so quick. These are my pins and my needles. I call this my pins and needles cup. I don't know if any of you have experienced this, but for me, I have somehow amassed an incredible collection, and completely unintentional, of pins. They're kind of coming out of everywhere. When I was reorganizing my space here, I was just finding pins all over the place. So I don't know if there's other things that people have found that they just somehow amass without even really realizing it. I was lucky enough to get in. I didn't know that I was lucky enough to get in, but I got the Countdown to Christmas box from Missouri Star Quilt Company. This is a little tape and snip set that was part of that. And I also have, what do I have? These non-stick things for your template plastic and your rulers and stuff. And then just some peel and stick adhesive for badges and whatnot. Down here, I have my basting pins with my tool, my Wonder Clips. I have this diagonal seam tape from Cluck Cluck Sew. Again, helps keep me straight and helps that 1/4 inch stay on par. I've got my labels in here for organizing out all of my pieces, all of my rows as I'm putting things together. This is some batting seam tape that was in that box as well. This is something I want to try, is the English paper piecing. So I thought I'd start with hexies, and I thought I'd start with some big ones to kind of, give me a good start. And, oh, I have this. Now, I haven't used it yet. So this is the blade sharpener. If anyone has used it, if you don't mind, if you want to, just leave a little note and let me know how it's worked. I've seen some of the reviews and they're very, very mixed. And like I said, I haven't tried it out for myself. I mean, ultimately I should probably do that, but if you happen to have one and have used it, I'd like to know how it worked for you. What else do we have? These are my color wheels. And my measuring tape. This is the assistant proportion scale. So this gives you measurements of if you want to increase or decrease things by a certain percentage. So that works out really well. I have my color tool, my color wheel. And so that's what this drawer predominantly is. I have some triangle paper here that I saw at a quilt shop on sale. So I thought I'd give that a try at some point. This is just patterns, stuff I've printed off, things that I've picked up in the quilt shops. I'm kind of big into these. I don't know if a lot of people have heard of them, these 3-yard quilts from Fabric Cafe, but they're a lot of fun. They're really good for beginners because it's not a huge project. You end up with a lap quilt and kind of bigger pieces for sewing. So they've been really great for me. This is applique and templates that I keep. Oh, look, do you recognize him? This is the bunny from the Happy Together at Home. And look at me, I'm kind of a nerd. And I actually even wrote April 12, 2020, Happy Together at Home YouTube series by Lisa Capen Quilts, block number 20. So Lisa, if you're ever wondering at night what block your Easter bunny was, it was block number 20. I don't know why I do stuff like that, but I just do. These are some things. This is a gift that I received from Pat that she sent me before I went into the hospital in the winter here. And this is something that came in the Countdown to Christmas thing, but I also have one of these Aurifil cards. I don't know what these cards are called, but they kind of have all of they have their basic colors in them. And that was on sale through So Yeah Quilting, and I thought I'd pick it up. Again, lots to learn about colors and matching and things. I have some And this is just like foundation paper here, which I'm really expecting this to be nothing more than newsprint paper. And then I have some, what are these? See, sorry, I don't even necessarily know what all of these are. Lisa, I was telling you yesterday about that big sale at that fabric store that was moving. And so, you know, with things at 65 and 70% off, I went in there and I was just grabbing stuff that looked like they would probably be useful to me. So this is Heat and Bond. I'm assuming this is a fusible. And then I have some non-woven stabilizer down here as well. So that's what's in these drawers. And I'm pretty confident that at some point I'll need them and they'll be here waiting for me in that moment. What do we have down here? Oh, this is leftover stuff from my pegboard. These are the legs for my extended table for my machine. This is basically shrink wrap. It's kind of static tape, if you will, to just wrap things up as the label indicates. Those were on sale, and then some Invisigrit for the rulers, because I really struggle with rulers sliding all over the place, and I've miscut I don't even know how many times. This is just extra stuff as you have, I think. This is a magnetic bowl that came in the countdown to Christmas. I don't have so much use for. I have some grommets, as you do, some, you know, just some extras here and there, and some miscellaneous things. And this is just kind of some fabric and things like this. This is where my kids, if they ever get curious about sewing or they want some fabric for something, they can start in this drawer. The main fabric drawer, they are not allowed to touch without specific permission. So let's move on. This is my cutting table. In such a small space, you kind of need to get creative and think about how you can get the stuff in here that you use. And honestly, I'm all about modular over fixed any day. And whatever I can put on wheels, I put on wheels to move around. So this worked out really well. This used to be, when I first moved into the space, in my, where the Simplicity cabinet, pattern cabinet is. And you know, this was much easier to put on wheels than the cabinet, I think. So, and then I just kind of move it around as I need to get it out of the way. This is pretty self-explanatory. Lots of people have various versions of pegboards. This clearly is houses all of my cutting and measuring tools. It's nice and handy. One good thing about a small space is that you're able to really reach things pretty easily. You know, there's you don't have to go, you know, digging too far, get up and walk too far. So that's been one good thing about this small space for some of the inconveniences. This is my filing cabinet. My room is filled with, there's a few new things, but I try to reuse and repurpose as many things as I possibly could. So this was a filing cabinet that was in our old house that we didn't really have the room or much use for once we got into this place. But I realized there would be utility for me in this by way predominantly of storage, because I didn't know where it was going to go. But it ended up here, and so now it's a handy dandy shelf for all of my ironing stuff. I can light up my ironing table, and it's magnetic. So I kind of zhuzhed it up a little bit, but I have some things here that I got some industrial magnets and things that I can actually put on the side. I dressed it up a little bit, but often what I'll do is I will, when I'm working with a pattern, that's where I'll stick it, is on the side of this one or that one. And what else do I have here? So here's my ironing area. And this is an old microscope table that is broken because it would go up and down, but it was broken. So Chris rescued it from the dump and just brought it home. And this now works for where I iron all of my stuff. And this is, this is either the world's largest design board, or it's the world's smallest design wall. So however you choose to define it, it's 4 feet by 4 feet. It's made how pretty much everyone makes it. It's got the foam insulation. It's wrapped in flannel, but it has a 1/4 inch board glued or on the back there. And that's to give it rigidity, because this actually comes off the wall. And so if you see up here at the very top, Chris kind of fashioned this for me. It's almost set up like, it's almost like an easel. So I've got these two supports down here to hold it in place. And then up top, Chris made a swivel, I don't know what you call it, but it swivels. And so I can actually turn that and then take the board down. So you can see I've got some active stuff going on here. And that's what's happening there. And then I think kind of last but not least, this is the Simplicity cabinet. Lisa, I told you yesterday about that crazy sale that I went to, and I really was interested in a bigger kind of cutting table. And they told me they were taking their cutting tables to the new location, but they were selling some of their pattern cabinets. And so I got this pattern cabinet for $10 and brought it home, which is good because it houses all of the fabric and that sort of thing. So this is new. I originally, my thread was in one of the drawers there, and Chris made up these thread, I don't even know what you call these, hangers, holders. Anyway, so Chris did those up for me, and then I moved my thread out of the shelf and out of the drawer and onto the shelf here. And I got another handy little shelf out of this cabinet, as well as it holds the fabric. And some more fabrics. I do want to share these with you because these are my ornaments from the ornament exchange at Christmas time that I received. So I quite like them.
So cute.
Aren't they beautiful? So I'm just going to move this for a second. So these are the 4 that I got. And they didn't arrive on time. I didn't have them for Christmas, and that's kind of why they're here, because I just don't want to. I got them in late January, but I did an exchange with a gal in the States. And again, COVID was just so crazy in the US and in Canada, and it affected everything. And you know what? I'm actually okay with it. Look at these cute little yo-yos for this wreath.
Adorable.
Isn't that adorable? Aren't they so creative? I just love these. And so, in the end, I was feeling a little sad. And I actually was worried for a while because I thought, oh no, with all of the confusion, this is a little Christmas tree with a bell on the bottom done in yo-yos again. Isn't that just too sweet? I love these. So I didn't want to put them away. But anyway, I was worried. I thought, oh no, something had actually happened to them. I may not receive them at all. And then finally, kind of the 3rd week of January comes, and this little package shows up at my door, and there's my ornaments. And it was just such a nice moment. I was so happy to finally receive them. So they're going to stay there a little while longer.
Now, Miss Pennie, I'm just going to stop you for 1 second while you're standing right there next to that cabinet, because I'm not alone. Can you open up at least the top drawer so we can take a look?
Oh yeah, I'll open all the drawers. Yeah, it's fabric time. Sure. So here's this. This is where I keep my fabric. So this worked out really well. This worked out really well because you can see that the cabinet's partitioned, and this is obviously to hold the Simplicity patterns, and this is just how they come. But this is, it worked out really well and makes it really easy to organize. So this top drawer is basically my pre-cuts. These are all fat quarters. I buy a lot of fabric from So Yeah, the guys in Las Vegas. Believe it or not, when they do their Saturday night de-stash, it's actually more economical for me to buy fabric from them in the States than it is for me to buy fabric up here in Canada. Although I do make sure to support my local businesses as much as I can. So this is pre-cuts and some batiks here. I've got some 1-yard cuts and so this is all, these are kind of the batiks. And what else do we have in here? I just love fabric. Sometimes I actually just walk in here and pull the drawer open just to take a look. And then like, I feel better and I can just keep going. So here's some more. These are all kind of 1-yard cuts, cut in. These are all from So Yeah in the States. This is right here. This is Riley Blake's Jane Austen at Home collection right here. And then these are just various prints and things that I got in that crazy sale when I had a fabric store close to me that was moving to a new location. They had incredible sales, so I grabbed that. So these are the rest of the yard cuts. I have, again, just kind of yardage here. These are panels right here, this little section here, and I have a few right here. I don't have a lot of panels because I'm still not sure how to work with panels all that well. These three are wide backs. This is funny. These are funny here. These wide backs, I didn't know what wide back fabric was. And so I found this big piece of fabric in a remnant bin. When I first started sewing, I was so intimidated by fabric and how expensive it was and how much I had to learn. I really struggled actually buying fabric. So I would only shop in the remnant bins at the shops. And I found this and I thought it was $9. And I thought, somebody mismarked this, I think. So I grabbed this and ran thinking I had the deal of the century in such a big piece of fabric for $9. And I get home and I'm like unfolding this fabric and it just keeps going and going and going. And I had no idea what was going on. So I couldn't figure this fabric out. And eventually I learned about wide back fabric. And so I understand what it is now, but it was a very confusing moment for me. I don't have a lot of seasonal fabric, but this is kind of all the Christmas stuff here. You probably tend to do, or I will probably do more Christmas sewing as far as seasons goes than any other season. So I don't want it interspersed with all the stuff. So I just gave it its own little spot and then I can go to it. And then I have my Tulip Pink that I buy. This is her line work collection here. This is her homemade. And this is her true color collection. And these are half yard bundles from Fat Quarter Shop. So I just love, I didn't think I would, but I'm surprised at how much I love Tulip Pink fabric. And so I decided I wanted to start collecting it whenever I could. So that's that drawer. This drawer is just kind of the rest of it. Big cuts of fabric. This is a bolt of fabric from Soya. From their new stash, they'll sell 10 yards of fabric for $65. And I realized one thing I missed with my quilting was I missed the fact that backing or background fabric tends to take up more fabric in most patterns. And I was so focused on prints and I was so mesmerized by prints and how pretty and how cute and how amazing that I really neglected to invest in any kind of background fabric. So that's why I bought these big cuts here. I have some Insulbright, I have some muslin. These are my interfacings and my fusibles. I have some Lori Holt leave-in, sew-in interfacing. I want to give that a try because what she does looks kind of cool. And this is just remnants right in here. Like I said, I did a lot of remnant shopping. I have some in the other cabinet as well. And this is also leftover. These are the cuts that when I'm done a project, they're not pre-cut size and they're also not yardage anymore. So they're kind of neither here nor there. So I put them together with the remnants and so I kind of think of them as kind of like the big scraps that I can do scrappier projects with. So, but I really like remnant shopping. I think it's kind of fun. And then there's more over here. The filing cabinet houses all of this stuff. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see in here? So here's my layer cakes right in here. And this is what I utilize the filing cabinet for. These are right here are just kits. I don't know if Jill's watching, but I remember from Jill from Australia. I hope I have her name right. But Jill, if you're watching or if you see this later, look, I have the Whims quilt kits, the watercolor quilt kits too. So when I saw that on your tour.
We have to move the camera down a little bit more because we're just seeing the window. There you go. There you go.
There. So here's my quilt kits. And then here I just have a little bag with there's some space back here. So this is where I have some batting scraps. Eventually I'll figure out what to do with this. And these are just more 5-yard cuts that I have in here. So that's what these are in here. Some extra remnants that I didn't have space for in the big cabinet. And so as you can see, I have plenty of fabric to play with and learn from and explore quilting and patterns and sewing and all that sort of thing. So I don't know that I've left a stone unturned in here, but I think that pretty much sums up the space.
Well, one thing that caught my eye yesterday was when we first talked was your, I think you called it your crochet corner, all the
Yeah.
colors in the yarn. That was so awesome. I love how organized you are with your fabrics. It makes me look at my fabric and say, I've got a lot of work to do to get organized. Pardon me. Before we go, we
Yeah.
did have a few people who said that they would love to see your vintage Dresden quilt. Is there any way you
Okay.
can open that up so we can take a look
Absolutely.
at that?
Absolutely. Let me do that. So what we have to do is we have to move to the design floor that's over here because there aren't a lot of spaces, but I'm happy to show you. I just love it. Yeah. I have some learning to do. I have to get in touch with somebody about kind of learning about antique quilts and making sure I'm looking after it properly. It's definitely not in the sun, so the sun doesn't hit it directly. But I have to learn about washing it and the best way to do that. So there she is. I'm just trying to back up so that we can get it. There we go.
Yeah, I think that is gorgeous. It is
Isn't
so
that?
pretty.
I'm going to get close up now, if that's okay. I'm going to
Okay,
move
yep,
slow so as not to make anybody sick.
yep.
But look at this. I actually noticed this yesterday. Look at right here. This is a piece of corduroy. I don't know if you can see the texture at all, but I was so surprised to see, and it's just one little piece in the whole thing. And so what they've said is they expect, so the stitch lines are, they suspect it's kind of machine and hand done, given the fact that it's from the 1930s. And the stitches on the blades, let me see where my finger is here. I think I have to move down. Okay, here we are. So the stitching on the blades is really even, like it's just a nice even. So they figured that this was probably machine sewed onto the background fabric. And then it's, and probably machine sewed because you have some overlapping in the centers. You have some overlapping of the stitches in the centers. So they probably figured this is machine. And then the actual quilting on the quilt is probably hand done. So that was kind of neat. And then you've got the border fabric here, and you see that in different areas. So see here, you can see there's the border fabric there, and then there's also pieces of it in some of the blades here. So.
While we're right there, Terry's asking how many blade, there's so many variations of a Dresden plate.
Yeah.
Can we count the blades that are in
Sure.
a particular one?
Yeah, let me find right here. So if we kind of start right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. These have 16 blades.
Yeah, yeah. Sally was saying that blue corduroy piece might have been a repair at some point in time.
I'm glad Sally said that because I was wondering that yesterday. There are some places on the quilt where the fabric has worn through. And so I was wondering, because again, even if I stand up, like it just kind of sticks out like a little sore thumb, right? You can just see it highlighted there, just shining, right? And so I was kind of wondering if it might be. So I'm glad to hear her say that, because it was a thought I had as well.
Yeah. I kind of love that it's there though.
Yeah.
I really do. But I sew and quilt with all kinds of fabric, not just quilting cotton. So I saw the texture in the corduroy and I was like, that would be my favorite piece.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like I said, I just noticed it yesterday and I thought, how wonderful is that? So I can't help, it's a feed sack quilt, but again, you have to wonder how many repairs and things it's had over the years. It's very, very light.
Yeah.
It also has a little stain, a little pink stain here, which I love. Um, because I what I love about it is that at the end of the day, obviously for anyone who has heirloom quilts in their family or historical, I don't have anyone that quilts in my family. I don't come from any of that kind of lineage. And so we don't have this type of thing, but I do feel very privileged and honored to have kind of a piece of history and think about, when they were making this, because Lisa, you did a Dresden plate quilt last year, and I'm still working on mine. And so I just thought it was incredible that in the 1930s, and however long the Dresden plate has been around, right up until the 21st century, we're still making the same blocks. So I just thought that was pretty special.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
love it. And I was super impressed yesterday when we met that I love your approach to quilting because you mentioned that you don't just want to learn the techniques of quilting. You have dived in and studied the history of quilting, and you even have some of the books and all of that. And I just love how your interest is not only in how to make a quilt, but the
yeah.
history of it. So that
Oh yeah. I think it's so important, and I think it's so special, and it's so incredible. Like when you learn, what I've learned about quilts is how they started in England with the English paper piecing, but then the craft and the art form made its way over to America, and especially with the way cotton was able to be processed and how the early Americans, traded in kind of the various straps, the silks and the chintzes and the all the taffetas and all those things, and they preferred the cotton over that, and then took quilting and made it a whole new thing than it ever was before. And that's what we have here today, pretty much throughout the entire world. But I think that's just an incredible thing. So yeah, I really do. I really immerse myself in my hobby.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Well, as we're finishing up your room tour, I want to hit on that for just a second because
mhm.
you have learned so, so, so much. And I really feel like you have so much to share with other people who are learning as well. And one of the reasons why I'm bringing that up is because you mentioned to me yesterday
Yes.
you've been contemplating making videos and
Mhm.
teaching and all of that fun stuff. So I just wanted to spread the word for everybody who's watching to keep your eyes open for Stitch Pennies, Miss Pennie, because I think you have so much to offer, and most certainly I would be watching along. Do you want to just maybe hint on some of your video ideas that you're possibly on the fence about making?
Yeah, so really, I want to start off and just be a place for beginners to touch on and just really give the message of, hey, you know what? You're not alone. You're not the only person who's never touched a sewing machine, and you're curious about quilting. Whether you have a long line of quilters in your family or you don't, like me, and so I just really want to be a place for those people to start off, and obviously anybody. My door is wide open, and just really talk about things like go over the basics. A lot of what I see online and even in the Facebook groups I'm involved in is what needles should I be using? What thread should I be using? Why is thread important? So all of these things that can really have you feeling kind of lost and scratching your head. And it really is intimidating for someone it was my experience, who's never, who has no idea what these things are, and that they actually in their own right mean something very specific to the craft. Why are needles important? Why is thread important? Why are the different fabrics important? Why is interfacing important? What's going on? What does it do? So those are some of the things that I want to touch on with the explaining. There's lots of tutorials, I think, everywhere. I'm just throwing my hat in the ring. I don't really want to. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel or take over a message that's already out there, but I think really more than anything is, you know what, you're not alone. Everybody starts at the beginning. It is okay to be a beginner. More than that, it's okay to feel lost and unsure. And so let's talk about those things. Let's go over what these things are so that you can feel a little bit more confident and comfortable. Because the more you sew, the more you know. And it's to a point, initially, there were times where I was so intimidated, I actually avoided it. And so that's kind of where the preliminary thoughts are for right now.
Oh, I just want to keep encouraging you to do it, Penny,
Oh,
because
thank you.
you're right. You're right. There's thousands of quilting and sewing videos already on YouTube, and I don't think we could pick a topic that hasn't already been talked about on YouTube when it comes to
Mhm.
quilting and sewing. The thing is, though, you're so relatable,
Oh,
and we can watch videos from someone who's been quilting for 30 years and they're so
mhm.
knowledgeable, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard to relate because we might be new doing this and you're so relatable. And so I just want to
Oh.
encourage you. And if you're watching this video, as soon
Mhm.
as she gets up and going, she's going to let me know. And I'm going to put a link to her channel. And
Oh, wow. Thank you.
so you can go check out Penny's channel. And I just want to encourage you to keep on going, Penny. And you've blown my mind, just the progress you've made since you've started. I cannot
Thanks.
wait to see what you're gonna do in the future. And yeah, it's just been so great getting to know you better and to see in your space and your organization. It's been a lot of fun. Uh, everybody, I want to encourage you, Penny, when we're done, to
Yeah.
come back and read the live chat because you have
Okay.
lots of awesome comments here.
Oh, great. Great.
Yeah, and I want to just thank Sally for moderating today. I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us during the live. And if
Yeah.
you're here on the replay, if you could leave a comment for Penny, that would be great. Well, Miss Penny, thank you so much for being brave enough to come live and to
The
share
pleasure
your
is truly
space.
mine. Thank you so much. Thank you everybody who tuned in and stayed throughout the whole thing. And Lisa, honestly, thank you so very much. Your encouragement means an awful lot to me, truly.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Thank you all so much for hanging out and spending some time with us and getting to know Penny. And if you're interested in sharing your space and your story and all of your goodies and stuff,
Mhm.
there's ways to get in touch with me down in the description box. Send me a message and we'll set up a room tour of yours. So thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see y'all all really soon. Bye.
Bye.